Richard's in Chelmsford. Richard, what would you like to say?
Yeah, hello, James. Been looking forward to this.
Go on, mate.
Yeah. Basically, I don't think it's about the curtsy itself.
What isn't?
I think it. Well, that was your conversation, right?
Yeah, but what isn't about the curtsy? The anger and the outrage.
Yeah, well, her presentation of what she's saying.
Of the
I don't
curtsy.
think it's about the curtsy
Right.
itself.
No.
I think it's about the sort of character that she is.
Yeah.
Which seems obviously quite vindictive.
Right.
Because I think it's evident that she had split up with a few partners in the past.
God, really?
And sent a ring in the post, just dropped her boyfriend. I think it was a restaurateur or something, and he was going to further her career.
Right. Where did you learn this?
This morning.
No, but where? Where did the information come from?
Oh, Talk Radio, your favourite.
What?
I know you're laughing, James. Yeah, I know you would, because you think you're the bee's knees, aren't you, mate?
Richard, you were looking forward to this. Let's not let it fall apart quite so early.
No, I am looking forward to this.
So you heard on a radio station that she once sent a ring to an ex, and now you know what her character really is.
No, you can.
But why didn't you hear on this radio? No, you carry on. You crack on, mate.
Don't you see it yourself? I mean, I don't actually think that you believe what you're saying. I think you're a provocateur, and that's the whole basis of your show, isn't it?
And now we're talking about me.
But it's always about you, isn't it?
No, we're talking about Meghan Markle and your insights into her character gleaned from listening to a different radio station an hour ago.
Yeah, they had Richard Tice on earlier. You know, the one that you had out in Keckner's.
Yes, I told him to F off. Yeah. Why are we talking about that now, Richard?
No, I'm just sort of saying that because you asked me where I heard it. That's all.
But you'd already told me.
Yeah.
So what's going on, Richard? Really? Do you think? Yeah.
But how do you mean?
Well, you've got on the radio. You said you were really looking forward to it, and
well, I am because
what are you telling me, Richard?
On radio.
What do you think you're telling me?
You just bullied a poor girl on the radio. She's speaking a lot of sense, and you're just trying to humiliate her.
Okay, I mean that's a criticism that I have now heard. But why are you here?
I am here because I'm telling you I think she's a very vindictive character.
Based on what?
I know people.
Yeah, go on.
I've met people that have gone out with partners that think they're the bee's knees,
right.
And when the attention doesn't come their way, they think they're queen bee. I've been out with women like that myself. And,
right, you've been out with women like Meghan Markle, Richard.
Obviously, they haven't been on the Suits. Oh God! I'm just saying that character. They think they're high maintenance types,
right?
And attention seeking.
Okay, why are you giving her so much attention?
Why am I giving her so much attention? I've just brought it up because that's your subject, and it's this whole big thing. This is, I'm sort of in relation to what the last lady said. There's people that won't be able to afford to heat their homes and everything, and everybody's making a big thing about.
Why have you never rung me about them?
Huh?
Why have you never rung me about them? We were talking about them yesterday.
Yeah, but you don't care about food banks.
We were talking about them yesterday. Why didn't you ring me then?
I've tried to ring you several times.
Everyone's talking about how they've tried to talk about food banks.
I tried to ring you last week, but
okay.
I tried to ring you last week. But you don't care about the people that you pretend you're caring about.
Well, that's another criticism that you have now made.
It's the truth.
Okay.
You're a liar and a bully.
Here we are.
I know you're a liar.
Yeah. And back to Meghan Markle.
There's evidence out there.
Back to Meghan Markle.
I've just told you.
You told. Okay.
So what's your answer, James? What's your answer? What's your clever comeback?
I don't need a clever comeback, Richard.
Come on.
No, I don't. I don't need a clever comeback. I only need a clever comeback if somebody hasn't really done my job for me by humiliating themselves live on the radio, mate.
But you humiliate yourself on the radio every day because you just sort of.
You know what you just said. You just did. I know you are, but what am I?
You're such a child. Grow up.
Anything else?
I know you've got issues, James. But,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
that's
it.
why you bully people. You know. I'm
Okay.
sure you're a really lovely fella, really, but you just need to be nicer to people.
When you came on air and said, I've really been looking forward.
I've been looking forward to it a long time.
What were you looking forward to, mate?
To basically saying that I think you're a liar.
Okay.
Kebab Awards.
Pardon?
The Kebab Awards. Hello. You're doing your listeners a very bad disservice, aren't you? Because you're not really telling them the truth, aren't you?
About the Kebab Awards?
Yeah. The mask business. Is it
the mask business at the Kebab Awards?
Yeah, you said it was impossible to eat a kebab wearing a mask while eating a kebab.
I stand by that. I stand by that, Richard.
All the evidence that is on there, you're not eating a kebab at the time, and you're having your photos taken, not wearing a mask.
There was no mask. There was no mask mandate at the Kebab Awards, mate.
Yes, there was.
No, there wasn't. No, there wasn't.
Yes, there was.
Okay. This is what you were looking for. When was that, incidentally?
I was looking forward to it.
When was that?
Huh?
When was that?
When?
Yeah.
What, the Kebab Awards?
Yeah.
Last year, wasn't it?
I don't think so. I think it might have been the year before.
No, it was 2021. I'll have to look at that.
Okay.
But I'm sure it was 2021.
And this is what you were really looking forward to doing today?
Oh, yeah, I've been looking forward to it a long time because I think you're a bully and a liar.
Okay. I wish you well, Richard. I really do. Maybe
I wish you
try
well.
and spend a little bit less time hating and a little bit more time looking after yourself.
No, I don't like people being bullies, that's all.
Well, I'm not bullying you, Richard. I'm listening to you.
You're not bullying me. You won't bully me, but you bully the last lady. You bully your listeners every day, don't you? You patronise them.
How do you feel about the people who bully Meghan?
How do I feel about the people that bully Meghan? I don't like them.
Oh, okay.
I don't like them.
But you've rang in to assassinate her character.
Welcome back to Glamstar Report, and kindly remember to subscribe. Today's video is not just another trending topic, it's one of those conversations that slowly unfolds into something far more revealing than anyone expects at the beginning. Because whenever James O'Brien is involved, there's always that underlying expectation. This isn't going to stay surface level for long. It's going to dig deeper. It's going to challenge assumptions. And more often than not, it's going to expose something people didn't even realize they were revealing. And today's discussion? It delivers exactly that. At the center of it all is Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, a figure who continues to divide public opinion in a way that few modern public figures do. But what makes this particular exchange stand out isn't just the criticism directed at her, it's how that criticism unravels when examined closely. So let's take our time with this, because this isn't just about what was said, it's about what it means. The caller begins with confidence. There's no hesitation, no sense of uncertainty. He comes in with a fully formed opinion, ready to present it as fact. Meghan, in his view, is vindictive, attention-seeking, and high maintenance. Now pause for a moment. Those words. How often have we heard them before? Not just in this context, but across countless discussions, headlines, and comment sections. They're familiar. Almost too familiar. And that's exactly where the problem begins. Because when language becomes repetitive, when the same descriptors are used over and over again, they can start to feel like truth, even when they're not backed by clear evidence. So when James O'Brien calmly asks the simplest question, "Why do you think that?" something interesting happens. The certainty begins to wobble. Not dramatically, not all at once, but subtly, in the pauses, in the hesitation, in the shift from confident assertion to searching for justification. And that's the first crack. Because it reveals something many of us don't often think about, the difference between holding an opinion and understanding it. It's easy to say, "I think this person is difficult," or I don't like this individual. But when you're asked to explain why, clearly, logically, with specific examples, that's when things become more complicated. And for the caller, that complication becomes unavoidable. Instead of providing concrete examples, he begins to generalize. He leans on impressions rather than facts. And then, almost without realizing it, he pivots. He starts talking about his own experiences, about women he has known, about relationships from his past, and just like that, the conversation shifts. Because now, it's no longer about Meghan as an individual. It's about how the caller interprets behavior based on his own personal history. This is where things get particularly revealing, because what we're witnessing is something deeply human: projection. Projection is when we take our own experiences, emotions, and assumptions and apply them to others, sometimes without even realizing it. It's a way of making sense of the world, but it can also distort our perception. And in this case, it becomes clear that the caller isn't just reacting to Meghan. He's reacting to what she represents in his own then, shaped by his past experiences. James doesn't interrupt this process. He doesn't shut it down or dismiss it. He allows it to unfold. And that's what makes the moment so powerful. Because the more the caller speaks, the more the underlying framework of his thinking becomes visible, not through confrontation, but through expression. Let's return to one of the key labels: attention-seeking. It's a phrase that gets thrown around so casually, especially when discussing women in the public eye. But when you slow down and examine it, it becomes surprisingly difficult to define in a consistent way. What exactly counts as attention-seeking? Is it giving interviews, writing articles, speaking publicly about personal experiences, advocating for causes? If that's the case, then the label could apply to journalists, activists, politicians, authors, anyone who uses a platform to communicate ideas. So why does it feel different in this context? That's the question that lingers. Because the issue isn't the action, it's the interpretation. And interpretation is rarely neutral. It's shaped by context, by narrative, and by the way information is presented to us over time. For years, Meghan has been the subject of intense media attention. Every gesture, every statement, every decision has been analysed, often through a critical lens. And when a certain narrative is repeated consistently, across different platforms by different voices, it begins to take on a kind of authority, even if it's never fully substantiated. The caller, like many others, appears to have absorbed this narrative, and when asked to explain his opinion, he draws from it, not as something he has examined, but as something he has accepted. This brings us to another key moment in the conversation. The caller states that he dislikes bullying. It's a strong declaration, one that suggests a clear moral position. But when you place that statement alongside his earlier comments, a contradiction emerges. Because labeling someone with negative traits, without clear evidence, without nuance, can itself be a form of unfair judgment. Again, James doesn't need to point this out explicitly. It becomes evident through the contrast, and that's what makes it so effective. Because it doesn't feel like an accusation, it feels like a realization, not just for the caller but for the audience as well. And this is where the conversation expands beyond the individuals involved, because it begins to touch on something broader: how we form opinions in a media-saturated world. We're constantly exposed to information, articles, headlines, clips, commentary. And within that constant flow, certain narratives rise to the surface. They're repeated, reinforced, amplified. And over time, they become familiar, comfortable even. But familiarity is not the same as truth, and this is where critical thinking becomes essential, because without it, we risk adopting perspectives that aren't fully our own, perspectives that are shaped more by repetition than by reasoning. Now, let's take a step back and consider Meghan's background. Long before she became part of the British royal family, she was actively engaged in advocacy work. She spoke about gender equality, she addressed issues of racial discrimination, she participated in international discussions and used her platform to highlight causes that mattered to her. This wasn't a sudden transformation, it was an established part of her identity. And yet, as the conversation demonstrates, this context is often overlooked. Instead, the focus shifts to more recent narratives, ones that may not fully capture the complexity of her experiences or her motivations. Why does this happen? Partly because narratives tend to simplify. They reduce complex individuals into easily recognizable categories. But real people don't fit neatly into those categories. And when we try to force them into those boxes, we lose something important: nuance. We lose the ability to see individuals as multifaceted, evolving, and shaped by a range of experiences. Another important layer to this discussion is the role of institutions. When Meghan entered the royal family, she became part of an institution with a long history and deep cultural significance. For many, it represents tradition, stability, and continuity. And when someone enters that space with a different perspective, a different background, a different voice, it can create tension. Not necessarily because of specific actions, but because of what that presence represents. Change. And change, even when positive, can be uncomfortable. It can challenge expectations. It can disrupt established norms. And in some cases, it can lead to resistance. That resistance doesn't always present itself directly. Instead, it can manifest in more subtle ways, through criticism that focuses on personality rather than substance, through labels that feel definitive but lack depth, through narratives that simplify rather than explain. And this is where the conversation becomes particularly insightful, because it highlights how easily personal discomfort can be reframed as objective critique, how biases, whether conscious or not, can influence the way we interpret behavior, and how important it is to recognize those patterns. James O'Brien's approach throughout this exchange is worth examining on its own. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't attempt to dominate the conversation. Instead, he asks questions. Simple, direct questions that encourage reflection, and in doing so, he changes the dynamic, because the focus shifts from defending a position to examining it, from asserting a belief to understanding it. And when that understanding isn't fully there, it becomes visible, not through confrontation, but through absence. As the conversation continues, the caller becomes increasingly frustrated, and that frustration is significant, because it reflects the discomfort of being asked to justify something that has never been fully examined. It's the discomfort of realizing that certainty may not be as solid as it once seemed. And that realization can be difficult. It can feel like a loss. But it can also be an opportunity to reassess, to question, to grow. And that's ultimately what makes this exchange so compelling. It's not about proving someone wrong. It's about revealing how opinions are formed and how they can unravel when examined closely. For the audience, it becomes a moment of reflection, a chance to ask, where do my opinions come from? What evidence supports them? Am I applying consistent standards? Or am I relying on narratives that feel familiar? These are not easy questions, but they're necessary ones, because they lead to deeper understanding, to more thoughtful conversations, to a more nuanced view of the world. As we move toward the end of this discussion, it's worth noting that there's no dramatic conclusion. The caller doesn't completely change his mind. There's no moment of sudden agreement. But that's not the point. The value lies in the process, in the way assumptions are gently but effectively challenged, in the way contradictions are revealed, in the way the conversation invites us, not forces us, but invites us to think more deeply. And that's something we don't see often enough. In a world where debates are often loud, fast, and focused on winning, this kind of measured, reflective dialogue stands out. It reminds us that understanding doesn't come from shouting over one another. It comes from listening, from questioning, from being willing to examine our own thinking. So yes, what started as an attempt to criticize Meghan turned into something much more meaningful. A case study in perception, a lesson in critical thinking, a reminder that opinions, no matter how strongly held, benefit from examination. And that sometimes the most revealing thing in a conversation isn't what is said about someone else. It's what is revealed about ourselves. Thank you, James O'Brien, for continuing to create space for conversations that challenge, illuminate, and encourage reflection. And thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.